Hey squad, welcome back. Today we're going to be producing in color once again. Now I fancy doing something along the lines of a smooth R&B track featuring electric bass, electric piano, and just a few layers. Nothing too heavy, just a kind of a minimalist vibe, but definitely a nice groove. I'll be breaking down all of my decision making and the steps I'm going to be following in order to get this production exactly how I want it. Don't forget, if you find value in my content, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. All of these things help to push my videos forward to a broader audience. Anyway, it's that time, so let's get into it. Okay, so we're in Logic Pro X, and as you can see over here, I've got my bass guitar channel all set up, just like I demonstrated in my previous video about Logic bass effects. On the pedal board, I've got a compressor and I've got the Vibe, which I really love using. I've also got a vintage tube EQ with a pick bass preset engaged. As for my bass amp, I'm going for the modern amp, 15-inch cabinet, 100% of my signals going through the amp simulator, and I'm using the Dynamic 20 microphone with the mic positioned right up close to the speaker and dead center. I've also got a Logic compressor installed as well, just in case I might want to add a bit of extra flavor later on. We'll see how we go, but for now it's bypassed. And I've got the standard Logic EQ, just so I can have a look at the spectrum analyzer when putting down the bass. The bass guitar is already tuned up, so I'm good to go. Okay, in terms of tempo, you can see here we're running at 160 BPM, which is very fast for a smooth R&B track. Now, the reason I've chosen 160 is because I'm going to be operating at double time. I'm actually going to be playing at 80 BPM, but for the type of drum pattern I want to use, 160 BPM will work a bit better for me. And that's quite a useful production technique you can use depending on the type of groove you're putting down. Now let me demonstrate real quick the bass line I'm going to be using for this production. This is the core section of the bass line. You'll notice at the end of each bar, I allow the track to breathe by creating a gap in the bass line. However, as the track progresses, I'll fill the gaps with some interesting phrases such as these. Now for this to work well, I need a good solid drum groove that will really lock in with the bass line. So this is the one that I've come up with. To loop this region so it continues to play for a bit, I'm going to select it and press L on the keyboard. As you can see now, we're going to loop up to say 48 bars. Yeah, something like that. That will do. Now I'll put down the bass line with just a few variations to keep things interesting. next element I'm going to add is a very simple pick guitar riff on my electric. I've got the guitar channel already set up. As you can see right here, I've got a pedal board. All I've got on here is just this delay, tie-dye delay, and you can pull that up in Logic on the pedal board. All you need to do is select right here. The default is show all. You go here, you go to delay, and you can double click and add the one you want. I'm going to stick with a tie-dye delay. Pull that out. Next thing I've got here is a compressor, and I'm using this guitar preset in the Logic compressor. Nice and simple. I just want to keep things real simple on this track. Next up is my amp. Once again, I just want a nice clean sound, so I'm just going to stick with a preset. I'm not even going to mess with the tone of this right now. I just want to get a decent clean sound down, and then later on maybe I'll tweak it. That's my guitar amp, and I've added a tremolo. Now I'm using this effect as an auto panner. Now the little riff I'm going to be playing sounds like this. However, I'm going for a muted sound, so I'm going to use the palm of my hand and rest it across the strings near to the bridge, just to take the ringing out of the strings, and you'll still hear the tone of the note without the ringing, like this. Okay, one thing I need to point out now, if you remember I mentioned we are running at 160 BPM, but in fact we are actually playing at 80. So this drum section right here, which would represent 16 bars of drumming, is actually 8 bars. So for every region on screen, you effectively have to half it in terms of actual playing time. Now that I've recorded the electric, I've gone in and found the tightest 4 bars of playing, and I've just reduced it down like so and slotted it in there. And this is important because what I'm going to be using is a tape delay, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So let me play back the guitar part now with all of the plugins bypassed, and then bring them in so you can hear the effect these plugins are having on the guitar. Okay, it's time for me to put down my keyboard part, and I'm going to be using one of my favorite electric piano plugins, which is the Electric 88 by Waves. There are some pretty great presets in here. You've got these different categories right here, but I'm just going to be using the warm tone under warm, and that sounds a bit like this. Now the whole of my chord progression sequence is anchored around 3 main chords: B flat major 7, A augmented 7, and A7. Now the color of this section is pretty dominant, but what I'll be doing is adding additional chords to change the color or tone of the progression over time. So make sure you listen through the whole of the sequence as I put it down. Rather than actually going through every single chord I'm going to be playing in the sequence, I'll actually have the chords come up on screen while I actually put the sequence down. So let's do this.